Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting edition of Free Advice Friday. No guest on the show today, but that's okay. You're stuck with me for an hour, which is not the worst thing in the world, right? Because I'm still gonna hang out. I'm still gonna dispense some free advice, and we're still gonna do it on a Friday. So everything makes sense. I apologize. I was a little scattered at the beginning there. I was working on something, and I was like, "Oh shoot, it's 1 o'clock. My timer didn't go off," and so that's what happens when you put your computer notifications into do not disturb, and then you can't even get notified of your own notifications that you've set for yourself so that you don't forget things. But that's okay. We're here now. We're ready to do Free Advice Friday, and I am looking forward to spending some time with you to answer your questions on the business and marketing side of voiceover. So the way it works is very simple. If you have a question that you would like to ask and get that question answered, you can just go ahead and type that into the comments. It will pop up on my screen, and I'll provide you with an answer for free on a Friday. That's what we got going on today. So looking forward to spending some time with you guys, looking forward to hanging out, looking forward to answering some questions. I'm very excited to announce that I am going to be making my return to MAVO. I have missed conferences so much. I can't even tell you. I didn't get to go anywhere from 2019 forward. 2019 was my last year, courtesy of COVID and travel restrictions and all of those different fun things. And so now that things are starting to return back to normal, or, mostly have returned back to normal, it was so good to be at VO Atlanta in March. I had a great time and very much enjoyed being there with everybody. And now I am looking forward to getting to make my return to MAVO in November. MAVO is one of my favorite conferences, and one of the things that I love about MAVO, whereas VO Atlanta kind of feels like this gigantic VO family reunion where literally everybody comes together. And, I think they ended up with like 1,000 people or something like that at VO Atlanta this last time. MAVO intentionally keeps things a little bit smaller and a little bit more intimate. And there's something to be said for that. I love being in front of a huge group of people and having a chance to work with, 200 voice actors at one time. But there's also something to be said for getting in a room with 10 people and having more time and being able to be a little bit more one-on-one with them. And that's one of the things that I've always loved about MAVO, is that intentional choice to keep the conference a little bit smaller and, provide for a little bit more intimate kind of learning environment. And so looking forward to being back at MAVO. I know that Val is working very hard behind the scenes to come up with an incredible lineup of speakers and guests. And so you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes open for that. Pay attention as announcements are made in the coming weeks, and get your ticket, because the other thing with MAVO is the sooner you get your ticket, the cheaper the price. So you save a little bit of money by signing up sooner. So hopefully we'll get to see you there coming up in November. So what do you guys want to talk about for Free Advice Friday? What questions can I answer for you for Free Advice Friday? This is exactly how it sounds. It is just a literal free-for-all. You tell me what your question is. I answer your question on the business and marketing side of voiceover, and certainly do my best to provide the best answers that I possibly can. So don't be shy. If you have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, you can feel free to type that into the comments. Welcome, Kelsey. Thanks for watching. And if you've got a question, like I said, don't be shy. Feel free to type it into the comments. This week was a very big week in the universe of VOpreneur and Marc Coaching, as I made the decision to fold those two brands into one entity. So that's been a very big job, actually. You don't realize how many places your name and your logo is until you have to change your name and your logo in all of those different places. And I'm sure that at this point, I feel like that's all I've been doing for the last 5 days. Every night, I sit on the couch, flip on a ball game or something like that, and just sit there and start working on changing logos, changing my name out and everywhere. And I feel like, even though I've been doing it every night for a week, I feel like I'm probably only about, 25% of the way through. It's pretty crazy, though, how many different places that your name and your logo ultimately appear. But that is what is going on. After a really, really good conversation with Celia Siegel, she talked me into doing the thing that I've known that I needed to do for a while. And so that is fold Marc Coaching, put all of the focus on the VOpreneur brand, and look for unique opportunities and partnerships to expand that VOpreneur brand. And so that is what the plan is. That's what's going on. And if you want to hear a little bit more about that story, check out this episode of the podcast. why you need someone to check your blind spots. That episode of the podcast was actually inspired partially by the conversation that I had with Celia Siegel and the advice that I was given from her, and also from having some conversations with my mastermind group on the subject of blind spots. So the new episode of the podcast is available at VOpreneur.com or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. That new episode, Why You Need Someone to Check Your Blind Spots. So check that one out. All right, let's see. What do we got going on here? Here's a question. Gustavo says, how do you send your samples or portfolio to clients? Do you send a link to an audio or video reel, a link to your website which contains your portfolio, or a file in an MP3, WAV, or MP4? That is a really great question. So my personal preference is to send people to my website, and I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. Reason number one, when I am marketing to potential new voiceover clients, I'm trying to keep that email short and sweet. I don't want to put everything all about me and everything all about my services into that email, because think about it. If you're a stranger getting an email from somebody, are you going to read a really long, lengthy email? Probably not. So I want that email to stay short and sweet. However, I also want these people to know about the services that I offer, what it's like to work with me, the capabilities of my studio, testimonials from my clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can give them all that on my website, along with my voiceover demos. So when I am marketing to new clients, I want to drive the traffic to my website. If I can get them onto my website, I feel confident that my demos are going to do the selling for me, and that's where they're going to get the answers to all of the other questions that they may be having to ask about my services. So I am always trying to drive traffic to the website. The other reason why I prefer that is because more and more we're seeing a situation where unsolicited attachments are likely to trigger spam filters. So if you are emailing particularly new people that you haven't emailed before, there is a possibility that your email is not even going to get delivered. It's going to wind up in their spam folder. And of course, we don't want our emails to wind up in spam folders. So that's a second reason why I prefer to do it that way. And then a third reason, just in case that wasn't enough, by sending them a link to my website, getting them to listen to my demos on my website, I've now created a follow-up opportunity. What do I mean by that? If they write me back and say, hey, Marc, we listened to your, we went to your website, we listened to your demos and they sounded great. We'd really like to have the opportunity to work with you. Now I have an opportunity to keep that conversation going by saying, that's fantastic. Would you like any of my demos to keep on file? I'm happy to send you some MP3s. And so it's just given me an opportunity to keep that conversation going, which is always what I want to do. It gives me an opportunity to look like I'm providing great service, which I always want to be able to do. And now that you've asked for permission to send them the demos, they're going to be keeping an eye out for those demos, which means that they are much less likely to wind up in the spam folder. So Gustavo, I hope that answers your question. For me, again, personal preference is always to drive the traffic to my website. The other thing that I would add to that, by the way, if you're driving traffic to your website and giving people an opportunity to go and listen to your website, I want you to make sure that your demos are downloadable. I can't tell you how many times I have tried to assist a client with a casting, and I jump around to a bunch of different voice actor websites to grab demos from them. And if the demos are not downloadable, they miss out on that casting opportunity. So you want to make sure always, always, always that your demos are downloadable. Kelsey says, so I just got into VO. I've been doing pretty well for myself, but suddenly work went kind of dry. So my question is, where can I look for VO related part-timers while I establish my business? So are you, I want to clarify the question. Kelsey, are you saying, what can I do while I'm continuing? What other ways are there for me to make income while I'm growing my business? Or are you saying, where do I need to be looking to market myself so I can grow my business? I just want to make sure that I clarify the question that you're asking there, Kelsey. So if you can just clarify that for me in the comments, I can try to answer that for you. What did she say here? Okay, here's another question. I've been looking into radio admin work. Ideally, I'd love to focus solely on my business, but my bills disagree with that notion. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying here, Kelsey. Okay, let me encourage you. One of the things that you might want to look at is VA for VO. VA for VO. This is a service that has been started by some of my friends in the industry, Bridget Reel, Miranda Ellis, and Lynn Norris. And VA for VO is actually a really cool service. Let me just go ahead and bring this up on the screen here. So VA for VO is a service where either voice actors who are established voice actors can come to this site to hire voiceover adjacent business providers, or voice actors who are looking to grow their business but need to make some money on the side while they're working to grow their business. They can offer their services to established voice actors as a virtual assistant. So you've got two sides of the coin there. Established voice actors looking to hire virtual assistants, and voice actors who want to work as virtual assistants and be hired by voice actors. And so that's what VA for VO is. They are the matchmaking service, so to speak. I've joked with Bridget Reel in the past that they've basically created Tinder for voiceover. And so as a voice actor looking to work as a virtual assistant, I think there's a couple of opportunities on this particular site for you. First and foremost, you're going to have the opportunity to earn a little bit of extra income working as a virtual assistant for somebody or for multiple voice actors for a few hours a week. While you're doing that, though, there's also an opportunity for you to potentially, and this is not a guarantee, but potentially to get a little bit of insight and mentorship, because you're going to see how established voice actors are running their businesses and potentially have the opportunity to learn from them. So I would encourage you to check out this website. va4vo.com is the website. Reach out to them. I think that might be something that would be of interest to you if you are looking to make a little bit of money in the meantime while you're working to grow your business, Kelsey. And if there's any more that you want to add to that question, feel free to type it into the comments and I'm happy to answer it for you. All right, Steve says, I booked first job and had a live session. Started off a bit rough, but got into a groove and delivered. Client seemed happy. I keep playing back the session, wishing I was better insights on this. Okay, so Steve, one of the things that I will always say on this is your first session is never going to be your best session. Your 10th session is going to be a little bit better. Your 20th session is going to be even better. Your 100th session is going to be even better. And so one of the things I would say is don't expect that you're going to be perfect out of the gate, obviously. Number two, pay more attention to the client than you pay to yourself. And what I mean by that is we know all the mistakes that we've made. We know all of the things that are going wrong. We see all the chaos behind the scenes that the clients don't see. But on their end, they may legitimately think, wow, that was great. Everything went smoothly. Here's something else I want to point out. No client expects you to jump on a directed session and deliver in one take in 30 seconds. Nobody expects that. So that's an expectation that we sometimes put on ourselves, but it is not an expectation that comes from the client. So I would say also give yourself a little bit of grace. If the session didn't go perfectly in your eyes, if the client got what they needed, then in the end, is that not what the point is? We want the client to get what the client needs. That being said, if there are technical concerns, like maybe there was a problem with your internet, or maybe you had, you were a little bit uncomfortable with getting Zoom set up or Skype or Source Connect or whatever that was. Certainly there are people that you can talk to and who can walk through some of those things with you. But a big part of this is just getting in your reps. That I say this all the time. If you want to get better at auditioning, you got to get in your reps. If you want to get better at sending marketing emails, you got to get in your reps. If you want to get better at directed sessions, you've got to get in your reps. So realistic expectations for yourself. Don't set the bar so high that you make it completely unattainable. But understand at the end of the day that if the client is happy, that is the number one thing. If the client is happy, then everybody is happy. And look for those little improvements, those little things that you can adjust. If there were specific challenges that you had in that session, how can you address those things now so that when you do your second session, it goes a little bit better than what your first one did? I hope that answers your question, Steve. And it's a great question. And it's something that we all need to be reminded of, because look, there's an intimidation factor sometimes with directed sessions. It's nice to have the client on the line. It's nice to be in a situation where they're telling you exactly what they're looking for and getting that instant feedback. That's great. But at the same time, we put this expectation on ourselves that we need to be able to deliver, that, we shouldn't be stumbling. We don't want to make mistakes and things of that nature. But nobody's expecting perfection out of the gate. One other thing that I would mention too with directed sessions, we talked about stumbling and, not nailing the script on the first take. If you flub, just take a beat, pick it up and keep going. Don't get frustrated. Don't be like, oh, that was stupid. Or don't be, for crying out loud, or blah, 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 or whatever. Do these weird things. You want to try to make it funny or try to make it a little less awkward or whatever. That's actually what's going to make you look less professional. If you trip up on a sentence or if you trip up on a word, just pick it up. Just stop, take a beat, pick it up. They're not going to know any different because they're not expecting you to be able to do it in the first take anyway. And if they could do it so great, they would have been doing it themselves, but they don't want to do it themselves, which is why they've got you working on it in the first place, which means they're already impressed with you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even hired you. So just remember that as well. Hope that answers your question, Steve, and good luck with the second session whenever that comes so that you can hopefully make that a little bit more incrementally better. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you've got a question that you would like to ask and get answered, you can type it into the comments. Just put a Q beside your question. That way it pops out on the screen. It's a little bit easier for me to find. Don't be shy. I'm happy to answer any of your questions on the business and marketing side of voiceover. No guests on Free Advice Friday this week. Didn't have a chance to put one together, but that's okay. I still can answer all kinds of questions for you and am happy to do so as well. So again, don't be shy. Brooke says, what is a good way to find a mentor? I think there's a couple of ways that you can go about this. And I see that somebody, Briscoe VO, just posted in the group that if you join WOVO, mentorship is a part of the program or part of your membership. And that is absolutely true. WOVO, of course, is the World Voices organization. And they do offer a mentorship program. Let me think. WovoCon is on this weekend, as a matter of fact, for those of you that maybe you're missing out on that. I'm missing out on WovoCon this year. It would have been nice to go to Florida. I certainly don't need an excuse to go to Florida at this time of the year. That would be nice being in Canada. But yeah, World Voices is one of the places. WOVO, world-voices.org is the website, world-voices.org if you're interested in checking that out. A great industry organization, a lot of like-minded people, voice actors working together. WOVO works as an advocate within the industry. They offer training opportunities. They offer a conference opportunity. So there's a lot of different things that come along with WOVO. But yeah, like Briscoe mentioned, one of the things they offer is mentorship. So that's world-voices.org, which is something that you might want to check into. And they offer a couple of different memberships. There's for up and coming, and then there's their professional membership. And so definitely something worth looking at. I think it's possible to find that sometimes in Facebook groups and just reaching out to people who are above where you are at. I know that it can be tough because there's a lot of people that sell coaching, and obviously a lot of coaches don't necessarily act in the position of mentor because they pay for they offer premium coaching services or whatnot. But there are definitely some people that are out there and that are doing that. That's where getting involved in the community, I think, is just a really important thing. Look for, is there a local meetup group in your area? Or it doesn't even specifically have to be local anymore, because obviously with technology like Zoom, we can do things virtually from anywhere. But looking for meetup groups that you can become a part of, where you can potentially find a mentor in a group like that, I think that's another possibility as well. Kelsey says, are any mouth clicks acceptable in your final recordings? I cannot for the life of me figure out how to stop them 100%. I've tried gum, green apples, drinking an obscene amount of water, etc. Ah, yes, the mouth clicks. So, Kelsey, one thing that I have learned, drinking an obscene amount of water is good, but you need to start drinking that obscene amount of water about 40 minutes to an hour before you record. So make sure that you're drinking, I think they suggest like at least a liter of water up to 40 minutes before you record, because it's not like an instant thing, right? I mean, I'm sitting here drinking water right now. but it actually takes time to hydrate the vocal cords and whatnot. And so drinking water ahead of a session is really helpful. Something else that you might want to look into is isotope. Let me bring this up here. We'll do a screen share, do a Google search here. So isotope, and the product is RX. RX, that's RX10. That's advanced. You don't specifically need advanced, but this is what we're looking for anyway. Isotope RX10. And the website is isotope.com. It's a plugin that you can get that will work with some of the different audio editing software that is out there. So I use Adobe Audition, and I use Isotope as part of my Adobe Audition. So that's a plugin that can help to address mouth clicks in post, as we say. So after you've recorded, there is a declicker in Isotope, and you can run that declicker, and it will help to remove some of those clicks from your recording. The other thing is getting a good audio editor that gives you the ability to work in, and when I say audio editor, I should say DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, but software that allows you to work in spectral view, which is another one of the reasons why I absolutely love Adobe Audition. Adobe gives me the ability to do spectral view, and in spectral view, I can see the clicks. So any of the clicks that Isotope does not remove, I can remove manually in spectral view. And if you need help with something like that, that's where I would encourage you to speak to somebody like Uncle Roy from Antland Productions, who often Uncle Roy pops into Free Advice Friday. He's the guy that taught me how to do some of that stuff. But there are ways that you can do it in post as well. Stevie Daniels, there is an expo where local businesses seeking opportunities to become contractors for larger entities can meet contractors and government agencies. Don't have a website and business card yet. Still worth going. I think it's still worth going because you can still meet people. And look, getting a business card is not that hard to do. You could go on to Vistaprint this afternoon and probably have business cards delivered to you by tomorrow. And so, you know, don't overthink the business card thing. Your first business card doesn't have to be your last business card if you haven't got your logo and all that sort of stuff put together yet. But there's still value always in going and meeting people and building relationships. There's still value in going and collecting business cards and holding on to those business cards for when you are in a different position, and then you're ready to reach out to those people and you can remind them about the time that you met them at the expo. So I think anytime that you have advice for, or anytime that you have an opportunity for networking, it's absolutely worth it. Gustavo says, this is kind of a grammar name situation. What is the correct way to write what we do? Voice over with a space, voice hyphen over, voice over one word, and what's the best way to name it? VO, artist, actor, talent. This is a really great question. The answer that I have been given is based strictly on SEO and Google searches. So that doesn't specifically mean that that's the right answer. It just means that it's the right answer based on SEO and Google searches, and that is voiceover. Voiceover with a space, so 2 words, that is what is most commonly searched in Google. When people are looking for it, that is the way that they are most commonly searching it. So I would say if you're looking from an SEO standpoint, then you would do the 2 words. And that is primarily what I have used in the past, is the 2 words. And that's why I've used the 2 words. As to the second part of the question, I've noticed that that has a little bit more regionality to it. So voice or artist, voice actor, voice talent, etc. I believe, again, from an SEO standpoint, and talking North America, it's the market I'm most familiar with, it's voice actor. Voice actor is the most popular. But if you go into certain European countries, voice artist is very popular, or voice overist, or voice over artist, one word voiceover, right? So, you know, part of that depends entirely on where you're looking, where you're marketing. But talking strictly North America, it's voiceover, 2 words, and voice actor, which seem to be the most popular from a Google and SEO standpoint. Mark, what is your best advice on contacting casting agents that you haven't had interactions with yet? I think for a lot of them, I want to pay attention to them on social media for a little while first and try to get to know them, try to get a sense of who they are, and watch to see whether or not they even accept unsolicited demos and whatnot from voice actors. Some casting directors don't, but watch for them to post a casting. There are a lot of casting directors that will go online and they will post them in their network. So if you can get connected with them on Twitter, I think that's a good play. And if you can get connected with them on LinkedIn, I think that's a good play as well. I'd also say check out and see if they have a website, and are there any specific instructions on their website? Does it say somewhere, if you're interested in getting a part of our castings or whatever? The thing you have to remember with casting directors, some of them, not all of them, some of them work primarily with agents, right? And so they're sending their castings to the agents. The agents are sending the castings to the voiceovers. The voiceovers send the auditions back to the agents, who then send the casting, send it to the casting director or whatever. And so you gotta try to get a sense of how the system works there. But I think a good place to start is by doing a little bit of research on social media first and trying to figure out, is it even worth it? Is there even an opportunity for me to reach out here? Kelsey, I think I'll end up getting Isotope RX10. It clicks while I'm talking, like in the middle of my sentences. Yeah, and that's some of us, that's just the way it works. Something else that you might want to play around with a little bit, Kelsey, as well, is mic proximity and mic placement. So this is not my voiceover microphone, obviously, right now, but you can see it's like, aiming up at me. So I'm kind of talking across it right now, as opposed to if I was looking right down and talking directly into it. If I'm talking directly into it, I tend to be a little bit more plosive. It tends to pick up my clicks a little bit more, but talking past it like this, you don't get that same action. And so that might be something else that you want to look at, is whether or not you can try coming at your mic from a different angle. Really great point here from Kyle as well. RX standard is what you're looking for. I just couldn't, when I just popped up the Isotope website there quickly, RX standard didn't pop up immediately. But yeah, you're looking for RX10 standard. You do not need the advanced. And if you watch, RX10 standard often comes on sale. I think usually around 150 or 199 bucks. So keep an eye out for that as well. All right, guys, what else can I answer for you? Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending some time with you, answering any voiceover questions that you may have. I want to let you know very quickly about my introductory email workshop. I've got 2 of them that are coming up. This one only has 1 spot left. So if you are thinking that you would like to sign up for this, there's only 1 spot left for the May 16th workshop. The way these workshops work, very simple. They're limited to 10 people. We're going to meet on Zoom. I'm going to teach you what goes into writing a really great introductory email and walk you through all of the components of that introductory email. In the second part of the workshop, I'm going to get you to send me an email, and then I'm going to give you some real-time feedback on your email, what works, what doesn't, what we can improve, where we can tweak, etc. And then in the final part of the workshop, I'm going to give you an actual voiceover lead, and you are going to have the opportunity to write an introductory email to that lead. And then again, send me that email, which I will give you real-time feedback on. And then by the time you're done, you've got an email template that you can use over and over and over again. And you're going to be able to send an email to an actual voiceover lead. So the one workshop, again, first one is coming up on May 16th. 7 o'clock Eastern. That is a live workshop via Zoom. It is limited to 10 voice actors, and there is only 1 spot remaining for that particular workshop. And then the second workshop is actually coming up on May the 24th, and that is going to be a daytime workshop. That one is happening from 1 o'clock Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern. And these sessions usually go somewhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours. So if you're interested in signing up for either one of those, right now you can go to VOpreneur.com. They are right there on the homepage, so they're easy to find at VOpreneur.com. So again, the May 16th workshop only has 1 spot left, so you might want to grab that one soon if you'd like to get into that one. There are still a few spots remaining in the May 24th workshop. Stevie says, what are the top 3 best ways to stand out in national commercial auditions? Top 3 ways. First and foremost, you've got to have a really awesome agent that's going to get you access to those opportunities in the first place. Because the legitimate national commercial campaigns that pay what they should be paying are going to come through agents. Yes, you are going to see national commercial opportunities on online casting. Sometimes you see those for like $500 when they should be paying $5,000. And I would say that those are ones that you actually want to avoid. But I think as far as the top 3 ways to stand out, first and foremost, you have to have really great agents. You've got to have access to great agents to get access to those opportunities. Second thing is you've got to have killer demos, like absolutely stinking killer commercial demos. Why? Because even though you're auditioning for these things, agents and casting directors will often listen to demos to help them make decisions. And then I think the third thing is you have to be trained up the wazoo. I don't know how to put that more diplomatically. If you think that online casting is a cattle call because you signed into Voice 123 today and 175 voice actors had already submitted for a job that had 150 spots on it, you've never submitted for a national. A national campaign could very easily see 800 to 2,000 submissions. And those are 800 to 2,000 submissions from the best voice actors in the country, the most trained voice actors in the country, the most skilled voice actors in the country. And so you have to be at the absolute top of your game. And here's another insight. I know you only asked for 3, and that's 3, but I'm going to give you 4. One of the most respected casting directors in the voiceover industry spoke at VO Atlanta. And they said something that I thought was really interesting. If they get 1,000 auditions on a casting, over half of those auditions got thrown out immediately because of bad audio. If you have never had a professional engineer listen to your audio, if you've never had anybody other than you, even if you are a professional engineer, if you've never had anybody other than you listen to your audio, then you do not know for certain that your audio is good. I don't care if you have been a recording engineer for 30 years, which most of us have not been, but sometimes we're too close to our own stuff and we need an outside perspective. We need somebody else to hear our sound. Now, maybe they're going to listen and they're going to tell you it's spot on, but maybe they're going to listen and say, this needs to be improved and here's where we can fix it. And so for any voice actor at any level in your career, if you have never had somebody listen to your sound, you need to have somebody listen to your sound to ensure that it's actually as good as you think that it is. Briscoe VO, when would you say you should contact a production company that has rostered you but hasn't sent any opportunities? I am looking to maintain regular communication with my prospects, which in this case, I would classify that production company as a prospect. I am looking to maintain communication with production companies on a monthly basis. Now, I don't always get to do that. Obviously, the larger that your list grows, the harder that becomes. But I am trying to get in front of them some way every 30 days. And that could be via social media, that could be via email, that could be from a telephone call, whatever the interaction is. I am trying to make sure that I'm getting in front of them every 30 days. The thing is, you don't want them to forget you. And if you are not consistently reaching out to them, then you are giving them an opportunity to forget you, or you're giving them an opportunity to replace you with another voice actor who is consistently staying top of mind. So always be looking for ways that you can reach out. Always be looking for ways that you can keep yourself top of mind. And if that is something that you need more help with, that is something that I do actually offer a course on. And I teach Follow-Up Academy is the name of the class. Follow-Up Academy is a 2-hour masterclass that literally deep dives into follow-up strategies. So what follow-up is and why it is essential. What should a follow-up cycle look like? How often should I be reaching out? What do I say? How do I say it? You know, what do I do when I don't have any ideas? How do I do that without being annoying? And so that is what my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass is. And you can look that one up at VOpreneur.com if you are interested. All right, let's see. Where else are we going? Julie says, I'm working on my website. I need to add a bio. I'm having issues on wondering what to write. What are your key points that I should add? I think with a bio, look, the vast majority of people are never going to read your bio. And I don't say that to discourage you. You need to have a bio on your website. I just say that to say, don't massively overthink the bio. I think that a bio provides an interesting opportunity for people to get a little bit of insight into you. So you could write a very formal bio that says, you know, Julie is a classically trained theater actor who has been involved in productions of various and assorted capacities for a decade and blah, 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 blah. Or you could just be like, look, Julie likes to, you know, sit in the hammock on the weekend and relax in the sunshine when she's not busy in the booth recording your national voiceover campaigns, or you know what I mean? So there's different ways that you can write it that I think can reflect your personality. And there's different things that you can write that can give people an insight into you. I think more and more I see, particularly as the generation of buyers gets younger, people want to make a connection. They want to have that relationship, and they want to find a way that you can relate. And so don't be afraid to show a little bit of insight into you and have a little bit of fun as well. But make sure that you're clearly demonstrating why you have the ability, the skill, the talent, whatever necessary to deliver great voiceover and help this client solve whatever problem and it is that they need help solving. But don't be afraid to have a little bit of fun with writing your bio. An agent mistakenly copied me on an audition once, and I saw the amount of names in the star power they send it out to, and it was mind-blowing. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look, there's a reason why there's not voice actors booking national campaigns, or very few anyway, booking national campaigns every single week. The best of the best of the best of the best are submitting for these things on a regular basis. And you know, it's really easy to say, I'm only at this point in my journey. You know, I don't have to be up here with J. Michael Collins. And yes, that is valid. You know, we're all working to get to that point where we're up here with a JMC or a Joe Cipriano or a Melissa Disney, or, you know, name the top tier voice actor. We all are working to get to that point, and it's good to have the goal to be striving to get to that point. But the reality is, when you're submitting on nationals through your agents, whether you like it or not, you may be competing with JMC or Melissa Disney or Joe Cipriano or whoever it is. And so you've got to be able to bring it to the table. You've got to be in a position where you're bringing your A game. And a big part of that starts with your sound and with your training, and making sure that you are up to snuff with your sound and with your training. Talking a little bit about marketing. Let me mention this to you. If you haven't done it yet, if you go to VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips, VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips, you can sign up for a free little resource that I've created that's got 12 different ideas for ways that you can market your voiceover demos. So if you are trying to figure out how to get yourself out there, this is definitely something that you might want to look into. Hey, it's a free resource. Hard to beat the price of free. VOpreneur.com/12 demo tips if you are interested in getting that one. Again, for those of you jumping in, welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending a little bit more time with you, answering some questions. If you have questions on the business and marketing side of voiceover, don't be shy. You can type your question into the comments. Just put a Q beside it so that it pops up on my screen. It's a little bit easier for me to find in the chat. And happy to answer your business and marketing questions during this broadcast on Free Advice Friday, which, by the way, I do try to do Free Advice Friday every week, although I can tell you there will be no Free Advice Friday next week. My dad is actually coming to visit from Nova Scotia, and so I kind of booked most of my schedule off for next week so that I can spend some time with him. It's been a while since I got to see him last, so no Free Advice Friday next week. But hopefully I'll be able to get something on the schedule for the week after. All right, Stevie says, in the modern age, is it possible to sign with quality regional agents with strong referrals and demos, but without a package of campaigns? I think regional agents, yes, absolutely. I do think that agents want to know that you are bookable. So if you have never booked a voiceover job in the past, you're going to have a harder time booking with an agent, even a regional agent. But if you have jobs under your belt, and it doesn't have to be big fancy commercial campaigns, right? They just want to see and know that you're bookable. But you do have to have top quality demos. For a lot of agents, if you have great coaching behind you and you're able to refer back to some of those coaches that you've worked with, regional agents, I think, are much more open. The one thing that you will find is with a lot of these regional agents is you've got to be able to show them what you bring to the table. Do they already have 20 of you on their roster? If they've already got 20 of you on the roster, that might be a problem. But if you can bring something unique to the table, if you can do something different, if your voice stands out in a different way, or you bring a particular skill set, I think that can help. I also think that getting those referrals, right? If you know somebody else on that roster and that person is willing to speak up for you, that can make a big difference as well. I've helped some voice actors who are very close to me in my circle. I've helped them get their foot in the door with agents in the past by making that referral. And it's not something that I do very often, but when I think that somebody really has it, and I think that somebody could be really good for that agent, I will make that referral, and that does make a difference. It does carry weight if you have somebody else that will speak up for you. So definitely something else worth looking at. Really good question. What else you guys want to talk about? Looking forward to answering some more questions for you. I mentioned the fact that I'm going to be at MAVO. Really excited to be joining Val and getting back to that conference, the Mid-Atlantic Voiceover Conference. If you haven't checked it out yet, I would encourage you to check that out, get signed up, join us in November. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Very happy and very proud to have VOpreneur act as a sponsor for that conference as well. That was the big change in my week this week. Some of you are probably already aware of it. It was the folding of Marc Scott Coaching into VOpreneur and adapting everything into that VOpreneur brand, and really looking forward to finding some unique ways, some unique opportunities, some unique partnerships to expand out the VOpreneur brand in the coming weeks and months as well. Kelsey said, how did you get into voice acting? I'd love to hear your beginnings. Yeah, I was a radio guy that got fired. My story is very similar to a lot of other voice actors. We all came from radio. I think at one point, like 90% of us were all radio people who got laid off. So I was working in radio in from 1996, 1995, 1996 is when I started in radio. And so I worked in radio and television through the late 90s and into the early 2000s. And I want to say off and on throughout that entire stretch, actually, I was doing voiceover. I didn't know it at the time necessarily, but because of my position in radio, because of my position in television, people would come to me and say, hey, can you do this commercial for me? Hey, can you do this video for me, or whatever? There came a point, I want to say it was probably in the early 2000s, probably around 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that area, where I started doing voiceover a little bit more actively on the side. I went for a stretch where I was doing fairly well on the online casting sites. Back at that point in time, you could do fairly well on the online casting sites, but still working in radio. So voiceover was just kind of something that I did for fun on the side, make a little bit of extra spending money, because anybody that's worked in radio knows that, most of people working in radio barely make enough money to survive. So you need a side hustle. But then in 2011, the radio station that I was working for, which became my final radio station, they went through some restructuring. I got corporately downsized, like so many in radio have. And at that point, I made the decision that I was not going back to radio. And I decided to see whether or not I could make something happen with voiceover. So my first full-time year in voiceover was 2012. And I have been plugging away at it ever since. And my business has been built primarily off of direct marketing. I have not had an active casting site membership in about 5 years. I do have a couple of agents that represent about this much of my annual income. And so I just realized very early on that direct marketing was going to be the way that I was going to find work and that I was going to create opportunities for myself. And so I dove headfirst into learning how to do marketing, really studying entrepreneurship and that side of things. And that's kind of where this whole VOpreneur brand came from in the first place, was recognizing that, yeah, we're actors, we're creatives, we want to be in the booth, we want to be recording, but we're also running a business. As I like to say, we're the CEVO. We are the chief executive voiceover for our company. And so I've spent the last, well, probably about 2016, I guess, is when I kind of started coaching inadvertently. And I've spent the years since continuing to work on my own voiceover business, obviously, but also helping voice actors to see themselves through the lens of a VOpreneur, and teaching voice actors to get more involved in the business and marketing side of all of this as well. Because one thing that we have proven over and over and over again is when you learn how to market and when you approach this as a business, that is when you truly, truly unlock your ultimate earning potential. Raymond says, in-show narration, documentary narration is a dream for me too. Do I need to be union to get those auditions? Great question, Raymond. This is something that I've been dealing with in my own business because it's an area that I want to, I've been trying to expand into for probably a year and a half now. At the upper echelons of broadcast cable, you probably need to be union to see some of those opportunities. That said, there are still opportunities in the space in the non-union. Many of those opportunities, it appears, are going to come through agents. They might be for some of the smaller channels, smaller cable networks, and things of that nature. I've also been making an active effort of reaching out to independent producers, independent filmmakers, just on my own, and trying to establish relationships and connect with people that way. And so I think there are non-union opportunities when you go about it that way as well. So I would say there are still opportunities out there. You just have to, you got to go looking for them. Like with anything else, right? Stevie says, any specific marketing strategies, either micro or macro, specifically pertinent for millennial, South Asian, born and raised American, potential preconceived notions from buyers I should account for? I think one of the beauties of voiceover, at least initially, is that people only know what they hear on the demo, right? And so when you're reaching out to people, if you can get them to listen to your demo, that sells first. I think that sells first. Now, is there the potential that they're going to jump onto a website and they're going to see a photo and they're going to establish a bias? Yes. Unfortunately, that's the world that we work in, but it happens across the board. It's why, I've worked with voice actors who are in their 60s who sound like they're in their 20s. And they don't want to put their picture on their website because as soon as somebody sees the picture, they're going to assume something about how they sound. But the reality is they sound nothing like it. And that is certainly part of the challenge. As far as specific marketing strategies, I think that you look at one of the things that I encourage any voice actor to look at. What are the things that you're into? The products, the services, the brands that you are into, that you use, that are part of your daily life. Are there opportunities to get in directly with some of those people by establishing relationships directly with some of those people? And one of the things that I love about the internet is that it is the great equalizer. A few years ago, there was no way that you had an opportunity to get your foot inside the door of any significant brand. Now, you can connect with anybody from any company, just about, through Instagram or through LinkedIn or through TikTok or through Twitter. And you can start to establish those relationships. And so I would say the reality is, yeah, there are always going to be challenges. And that could be a challenge whether you're a male or a female or a particular race. It could be a challenge because of your age. It could be a challenge because of how you look. And people will judge a book by the cover before they even listen to the voice, which we don't always want that to happen. But don't let that talk you out of trying, right? Don't let that keep you from sending out the emails, sending the connection requests on LinkedIn, making the connection requests on social media, working to establish those relationships, because I think ultimately your voice and your work ethic and how you carry yourself will speak louder. And I think that goes for any of us. Julie says, that was a question I had for my website, picture or no picture. It's a great question, and there are arguments to be made for both sides. I personally think, ultimately, we like to know who we're working with. We like to be able to see people. We like to be able to make that connection with people. And so I am a fan of putting your picture on the website. I do think that it should be professional headshots. I don't think the selfie, like this, I don't think it makes the right impression. I mean, with the quality of the camera on your iPhone today, it's possible to take a nearly professional picture, standing in your backyard in front of your garden or whatever. But I do think as much as possible, professional headshots make a difference. And I think that's because a professional photographer knows how to get you out of the picture. I don't know how to explain this. I hate getting my picture taken more than anything on planet Earth. Seriously, like not even exaggerating. But when I went and got my headshots done the last time, the photographer found a way to get me out of my own way. I don't know how she did it, but she found a way to get me out of my own way. And she got pictures that I was like, how in the world did you get that? And so I do think there's something to be said for that, for getting professional headshots done. Now, if you are one of those people that I was talking about earlier, where, you're 65 years old and you look like you're 65 years old, but you sound like you're 25 years old, and you don't want to get into that situation where somebody prejudges you, then at least have a really awesome logo. It's something, right? There needs to be some sort of imagery, I think, that still conveys your brand. And so that might be the work around it. I would love to be a fly on the wall for just one day with you. Well, a fly on your shoulder. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. It's complete chaos, Julie. It's complete chaos. Oh my goodness, my days are nuts sometimes. All right, let's see. Brooks, should I show pictures of my booth, moving blankets in a closet with a folding table, or should I wait until I have my dream booth? I'm afraid it would show me as unprofessional. Yeah, if that's what your booth looked like, I would not share pictures of your booth. But if you've got good equipment inside of it, then you can talk about the equipment that you've got. Most people don't care what your booth looks like, right? I mean, if you have a fully custom booth, right? Like, I don't know if I can turn my camera around here. Like, I've got a nice booth over there, right? Okay, fine. I do have some pictures that I've shared of that in the past, but prior to having that, I did not show pictures of my workspace because, again, I knew that I provided great sound, but I didn't want people prejudging. So I would say, in that case, wait until you've got your dream booth that you're working for. When accounting for pay, time jobs take, and supply and demand dynamics, is there a better market than political? Commercial pay without commercial competition. Automotive, I think, is potentially another space. Now, automotive, you're going to have to hustle to get in, but you get in with the right dealers, you get in with the right company, with the right creative agency in automotive, you get 6 or 8 dealers, and you can be making a very sweet, very healthy, very lucrative full-time income just doing some of those. Check out about 2 weeks ago. Look on this channel, Stevie, from Free Advice Friday about 2 weeks ago. I did a Free Advice Friday with Cliff Zellman. And it's on the YouTube channel. You can go back and you can watch it. Cliff is the king of automotive. And for an hour, a couple of weeks ago on a Friday afternoon, he literally gave a free masterclass on automotive voiceover. So check that out right here on the channel. By the way, guys, subscribe to the channel so that you get notified whenever I go live for Free Advice Friday. I'd appreciate that. And if you could flip me a thumbs up here as well, I would appreciate that. Click the button. If I've been answering your questions and you're happy with the service that you've been provided today, I would love it if you could just hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe so that, you get notified the next time. All right, let's see. Raymond says, I'm restarting my VO career after a 4-year hiatus. I have some decent credits under my belt. I'm not a natural marketing person. Don't worry. Most of us aren't. Is it worth spending thousands of dollars for someone to create my brand? This is a really, really great question, Raymond. Here's where I would suggest that you start. I think that there is a case to be made for having somebody create a brand for you. I really do. And I say that as someone who recently, actually just this last week, I paid Celia Siegel for a 1-hour branding session because I wanted to talk to her about VOpreneur and about the VOpreneur brand and about what that was going to look like. And in that 1-hour session, Celia was able to give me insights that I had not picked up on my own. And so there is something to be said for working with a brand professional. And Celia is one of the best. I'm putting a book in the chat, Raymond. It's Celia Siegel's book. It's called Voiceover Achiever. Start there. That book, I read in a night. I'm going to be interviewing Celia on the podcast in a week or two. And I read that book in preparation for the podcast and for the interview. And I read it in a night because I couldn't put it down. There was so much good information in that book. And there were so many questions and so many things that got me thinking about my own brand and thinking about how it all comes together. Start there, right? Because, the paperback is $28.99. We can all afford $28.99 for a book. And then if you decided you wanted to take it a step further from there, but there is something to be said for having a very clearly established brand because it helps you to figure out how you want to market yourself. And for those of you that are not familiar, again, I did just put it in the chat, but Voiceover Achiever by Celia Siegel. This is the book that I'm talking about. Brand your VO career and change your life. Absolutely brilliant read. Celia is a gem in our industry. If you ever have the opportunity to see her speak at a conference or anything like that, you should absolutely go and sit in on one of her sessions. Or if you see her popping up because she's doing a workshop with somebody or something like that, definitely somebody that you are going to want to learn from. All right, guys, just again, one quick reminder, introductory email workshop. I've got 2 of these workshops coming up. This is the goal. By the time this workshop is done, you are going to have an introductory marketing email template that you can use over and over and over again, that you can be confident in using over and over and over again, because you are going to understand the formula of how a great introductory email is put together. And I am going to work with you very closely in this workshop to make sure that that's what you walk away with. 1 spot left in the workshop that's coming up on May 16th. That's from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Eastern. Generally, they take anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours for the workshop. It's live via Zoom. It's limited to 2 people limited to 10 people. 1 spot left for the workshop coming up on the 16th. And I've added a second date, which is May the 24th. That one's happening from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. Eastern. And same workshop, just different time to accommodate people with different schedules, different time zones or whatever. So you can check that one out. If you go to VOpreneur.com, there they are, right there. You can sign up for May the 16th or sign up for May the 24th. Again, there's only 1 spot left for the May 16th workshop. There are a few spots left for the May 24th. So check those out at VOpreneur.com. All right, here's a question from Steve. If you could choose the top 3 best commercial coaches providing fresh advice that helps book big time, who would you suggest? Okay. Off the top of my head today, I would say, and there's more than 3 that I could very easily give you, but 3 that I would say are worth having a conversation with to see whether or not they are the right fit for you. Number 1 would be Dave Walsh. Number 2 would be Everett Oliver. And number 3 would be Brad Highland, with number 4 being just as easily number 1, number 2, or number 3 being Anne Gangusa. I can never just narrow it down. But I would say any of those people, from a commercial standpoint, those are people that I would want to be having a conversation with. Dave Walsh, Everett Oliver, Brad Highland, and Ganguza. Have a conversation with any of those and see whether or not you think they're the right fit for you. Anton, just read Voiceover Achiever. Excellent book. Yes, it absolutely is. All right, guys, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for hanging out as always. I do appreciate that you give me some of your time and give me the opportunity to answer some of your questions. I love answering your questions because it keeps me sharp and helps me stay on the pulse of what is going on in the community, what's important to you guys, what you need to know about, what you want to talk about so that I can help provide better content, more advice, and be more helpful to you in general. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Again, remember to jump over to the website at VOpreneur.com. You can check out those workshops. If you are interested in those workshops, you can listen to the podcast. The podcast is there. A new episode, Why We Need Someone to Check Out Our Blind Spots. It's right there. You can listen to it right from the website or, of course, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So check it out, VOpreneur.com. Thank you again, as always. Whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.